Dylan told me that my intros are too stiff and that they don't feel natural, so now I'm gonna struggle with that for the foreseeable future. But hi, welcome back. It's Kay. I thought that I would do the mid-year book tag for you today. I'm really excited because I set a goal for myself on Goodreads to read 75 books this year, and so far I have read 41 books. And so I'm on track. I'm actually about to finish a book today. I think I have like 20% of it left. It's from Kindle Unlimited, which means that I'm basically done with it. So I'm gonna be 42 books in, and I mean, it's July 20th when I'm filming this, so it's a little late, but that's okay. So let's just jump on into it. What's the best book that you have read so far in 2023? And the best book that I've read so far was actually Fairy Tale by Stephen King. It's actually the first book by Stephen King that I've ever read, and I thought that it was a really interesting book. I was in a reading slump going into this year, and so I hadn't read many books for like the last 3 months of 2022, and so coming into it I was a little scared that I wasn't going to be able to read again. And then I started into Fairy Tale and I could not put it down. It is a very long book and I read it in about 3 days, which I was proud of given that I wasn't reading. I was going to school, and yeah, so I was proud of myself for that. And it's a great book. It was my first 5-star read of the year, and I only actually have 2 other 5-star reads for this year so far, so I don't say that lightly. 42 books, 3 5 stars, and yeah, that's how this is going, I guess. So the second question is going to be the best sequel that I read so far in 2023, which would have to be Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. And it was so good. The Alex Stern series is fantastic. If you haven't picked it up, I cannot recommend it enough. When I first read Ninth House, I hated it. And by that I mean I bought it, I read like the first 2 chapters and I put it down. I was like, it's just not for me. It's slow to pick up. I wasn't necessarily interested in the world building. I've read other books by Leigh Bardugo before that were really good, like Six of Crows was like my favorite book for the longest time. So it just, I don't know, something about adult fiction didn't get to me. And it's still, honestly, there were things about it that I didn't like. There are trigger warnings for the first book, Ninth House, and I didn't know that going into it, which shame on me for skipping the first few pages and not looking into the book, but I wasn't expecting it. But it was good outside of that, and I enjoyed it, and I was really anticipating reading the second book, so I was glad that I could get back into reading again so that I could get into Hellbent when it came out. The third question is going to be new releases you haven't read yet, but you want to. And that would honestly be The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. I just started reading Christina Lauren's books this year. The first book that I read by her was Love and Other Words, and so I'm really excited to continue reading books by her, and that one I've heard really good things about and I really want to read it, so I'm really looking forward to it. I have to say, I hope that it's good, and I hope that I continue to like the books that she writes so that I can have a new favorite author maybe coming up. Who knows? Number 4, my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, which is actually going to be The Cursed by Harper L. Wood? Whatever. I read the first book, The Coven, for a video that I did actually, that was Facebook ad book recommendations, and I did not expect to like it, and I loved it. Gave it 4 stars. Thought it was really fascinating. The writing was, I mean, pretty standard, but I was compelled by the characters, kept me pushing through, and I really enjoyed it. And I want to know what happens next with Willow, I think it is, and Gray, or I'm not going to spoil it, but that's not his real name. Question: what was my biggest disappointment to read so far this year? The biggest disappointment for this year was definitely The Summer That I Turned Pretty. I read that trilogy in about 3 days, so it was really quick. It's a young adult, maybe middle grade trilogy. It's not super difficult to read. Um, but I really liked the show. I watched it and I was fascinated. I couldn't wait for the second season. So I decided that I would read the books in the time between, just because I wanted to stay invested in the characters, make sure I didn't have to like rewatch the first season before I could watch the second season. So I just wanted to know what was going on. And I read them, and I have to say I was really disappointed. The show is really good, but it seems like they really just picked the best scenes from the books and put that into the show, because the books aren't told like chronologically, so it sort of like jumps back and forth all the time. And so they picked like the best scenes from the 3 books to make up what they wanted to get across in the first season. And because of that, I got to read the less good stuff. And that was the part that was like new to me, which made it kind of a letdown, because I don't know, I expected the parts that weren't included to be better, because that's usually how it goes. They leave out all the best parts. And that's not the case. They kept all the good parts, and all the bad parts were left out. So it was not as exciting as I thought it would be. So it was a bit of a letdown, but that's okay. Number Number 6, what was the biggest surprise? The biggest surprise that I read this year was probably Spare by Prince Harry. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was a little slow on the uptake, but I listened to the audiobook, and so it's read by Prince Harry himself. So that was great. He does talk a little slow, so I listened to it on like 2.5 speed or something like that, because my God, I couldn't imagine listening to that on the original speed. It was already really slow. So it was a pleasant surprise. It was a good book. I enjoyed it. I liked learning about his side of the story. It shows that he was like portrayed in a bad way in media growing up, which I didn't know. I didn't follow Prince Harry's life in media or in anything really. It was interesting to see how he was like negatively portrayed, and then to see his side of what was actually going on. And I know that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Like, no one's gonna like be honest about their faults, just like no one's going to, like, the media is never gonna make him seem like a good guy. So I know that the truth is somewhere in the middle of those two things, but it was still a good time and I enjoyed it. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. I was also really surprised by just how racist it seems like England is. To like read about all of the hate that Meghan was getting, and to read about the fact that Prince William didn't like do anything to help Harry in that situation. It was really like, I don't know. I live in America, so like, you know, you hear about racism in America all the time because it's so in your face. But it was surprising to hear that like it's so in your face there too. I guess I need to go outside of my American bubble. But anyways, Number 7. So my favorite new author is probably going to be Michelle Obama. I read Becoming at the beginning of the year. It was the first book that I read this year. The first book, maybe the second book. I might have read the Stephen King book first. I read them like overlapping each other, so who knows? But I read Becoming by Michelle Obama, and it was fantastic. Like, I was not expecting it to be that good. Sorry. I am not a nonfiction reader most of the time. This year I've read a lot of nonfiction, that being biographies, autobiographies, self-help books, spiritual books, just all of it. I've been reading nonfiction, trying to expand my horizons. And Michelle Obama's book Becoming was fantastic. like reading that story about how she met Barack, what was going through her head while he was campaigning, what was going on in her mind while he was a president, and how like the criticisms that she faced, like how that impacted her and her life and raising her kids, and learning about her making like the changes to like health and like food in the US, because everyone knows that, well, everyone knows, everyone always said like Michelle Obama took away pizza at school, but like reading about like what like made her even decide to try and make changes to school lunches and have them be a healthy option for kids was, I don't know, it was eye-opening. It was fascinating. I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I read it, and it's one of the other 5-star reads that I read this year. So yeah, that was pleasantly surprising, and she's definitely my new favorite author because she had me liking nonfiction for a little bit, and I'm a big fan of that. Number 8, my newest fictional crush. I would have to say that it's probably a tie. I can't decide if one of them is a crush or if I just liked like his character development. And so it's either going to be Darlington from the Alex Stern series, in Ninth House and Leigh Bardugo. He is, in the first book, he's like supposed to be like a gentleman, like he's awesome and just like so sweet and like the stand-up guy and all of that. And it's really fascinating, especially because that's not at all how he treats Alex, and not like he like treats her badly, but like it's just interesting to see like that, like that's the persona that people, that he gives people, and that like the way that people see him, but then that like the way that he actually is and would want to be isn't like that, and it's like how he is with Alex. And I really enjoyed that, and I thought that it was cute, and I'm a simp for, I'm a simp for a good boy. um, and then the second option, the one that I'm not sure of if it's actually a crush or not, would be Elliot Petropoulos. Elliot Petropoulos is what we're gonna go with, from Love and Other Words. He was so cute. I have always dreamed of having like a childhood crush that like, you know, you like spend all that time with, you like start dating, you get married, the whole thing. And so like watching Elliot's relationship with Macy like grow and develop when they were kids, and then like become a thing as adults when they like meet again and have their second chance. It was so pure and like sweet, and little things like when she got her period and he was like, well, what's going on? Why are you like this? And then he found out and he was like, do you want, I don't remember what he did. He was just like really sweet about it. I think he was like, let's move on. And they like continued to read books. So he like asked for like what her favorite word was at the time, which is a thing that they do in the book. And he's just so cute. And like when he questions like her about her mom being dead, which you find out in the first chapter, like that wasn't a spoiler at all. But like when he's asking her about her mom being dead, and it's interesting because like he can tell that she wants to talk about it but doesn't want to talk about it, and just like the way they navigate their relationship, it's very like complex and sweet. So I don't know if it's a crush or if I just like the relationship, which is why it's a tie. And so number 9 is going to be my newest favorite character, which would have to be Alex Stern from Ninth House. Well, not from Ninth House. I didn't like her in Ninth House, but from Hellbent. In Hellbent, she grew a lot. She really like, she grew on me, I guess you could say. She's probably the exact same, but I found her to be more endearing, to care more about other people, and still like willing to do what she needs to do to survive. And I thought it was really, I don't know, I thought it was sweet. And so she's grown on me this year. So a book that made me cry this year, Becoming by Michelle Obama. I cried 4 times reading that book, and not because she writes about anything particularly like sad or heartbreaking. It's more so because like there were parts of like her childhood that I really related to and really brought up like memories for me, and it made me cry. Oh my God, it just made me feel the emotions I felt as a kid all over again. And so I was in tears a lot. But it was so good. So it was worth it, and it will always be worth it. I've read it again, and I'll read it probably again at some point, because it's really just, I don't know, not much makes me cry. I'm not very attached to my emotions. So it was a pleasant surprise to cry. A book that made me happy is actually Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Again, as I said, I've always wanted that type of relationship, the fully developed from childhood's a strong word. I think she's 13 when they meet, but from childhood to like adulthood and like them getting together, like that whole thing, like I've always wanted that. And I never had that. I don't even have friends that like I've had since I was like a kid. Like I think I've got one friend that I have from when I was, I don't know, in like 4th grade. And I have that one friend, and then I don't have any other friends that I've like stuck around or that I've been super attached to. And so it's just getting to read about those friendships and those relationships, really, it lets me know what I'm missing out on, but in a way that doesn't make me feel bad about it. And so that book made me really happy, and it made me a little envious, but happy overall. The most beautiful book that I've bought this year or received would probably have to be Things That We Save in the Fire, I think it's called, by, I don't know who it's by. I'm gonna put the cover right here so you'll see it. It's beautiful, right? But I'm not sure who it's by, I don't remember. But that is definitely the most beautiful book that I've purchased this year or received. And it's just so stunning. I love the cover. I love how the way that the orange flowers. Yes. The book is literally right there. I just am too lazy to stand up and grab it. But I love the way that the orange flowers stand out against the blue cover. It's stunning. It catches your eye. It was sitting on a table at Barnes & Noble, and it's honestly the reason that I picked it up and read the back. I'm glad that I did, because the back was interesting and I decided to buy it. But the cover's eye-catching, and that's what, I mean, that's the point, right? I know they always say don't judge a book by its cover, but I mean, come on. Who's not judging the book by its cover? I'm not saying I won't read a book with a bad cover, but I'm more likely to pick up a book with a good cover. And then lastly, what books do I need to read by the end of this year? So a few books that I absolutely have to read by the end of this year, no questions asked, no questions asked, asked, whatever, are going to be Atomic Habits. I've had that book for about like a year and a half now, maybe a little longer than that. And I'm maybe 20 pages in. I've had it for so long and I just haven't read it, and I've got zero excuses. So I need to read that this year. And then I need to read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Same thing. I've had that book for actually longer than Atomic Habits. I've had that book for about like 2.5 years. I think about it my sophomore, maybe junior year of college. And I've just never read it. I'm maybe 8 pages in. I think I started it on a train way back in the day, and it was boring, so I closed it and took a nap. And so I need to read that one as well. And then outside of that, just a few books that I need to read. I need to read The Eternal Devices, The Eternal Devices, The Dark Artifices, and The Last Hour by Cassandra Clare. I haven't read those 3 series. I've only read the Mortal Instrument series. And I think it's time that I finish up the rest of her books, because I really like the Mortal Instrument series. I've reread those all this year, and I'm still a big fan. I'm watching Shadowhunters with Dylan, and I want to know more. I want to learn more. But the problem is I like getting invested in characters, but then I become like loyal to them. And so it feels like reading books in the same universe about other characters is like cheating on them. I know that's such a stupid take to have, but like I'm cheating on Clary and Jace and Alec and Isabel if I read The Dark Artifices and like The Last Hours and The Eternal Devices. Like it's I'm so stupid, but it's cheating in my mind. But I mean, I read the Mortal Instruments series when I was in like middle school. So I think it's safe to say that it's no longer cheating. I've done that so many times. Like, also in middle school, maybe high school, I don't know. I read the Vampire Academy books, and then a spin-off series came out with like Adrian and somebody else. I don't remember who, but it was like a spin-off series about one of the girls. She has like a tattoo on her cheek. That's what I remember. But I don't know her name. It was like her family / like whatever like sect of the world she's supposed to be a part of. It's like a spin-off series about them, and I read like 10 pages of the first book and I couldn't do it because it felt like I was cheating on the Vampire Academy books and like the characters. It didn't feel right. And it's such a dumb take to have, but I mean, here I am and I'm gonna stick to it, I guess. And then lastly, I really want to read On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous. I started this book for a video, and I'm still gonna read it. Like, I love it, I enjoy it, but it's very like heavy. And I read to escape life. I don't read to feel emotions. So, and so I have a hard time reading books that are very like emotionally deep. And so I'm probably like 100, not even, probably like 60 pages in, and I've been reading it for like a month now. So I need to work on that. But what's actually gonna happen is it's probably gonna take me the rest of this year because I'll read like 4 more pages for this month probably, and then I'll put it down, and then I'll pick it up again and I'll read a few more pages. So it's gonna take a while, but I plan to read all of those books this year, and then some other books just because I need to hit my goal, and that's definitely not like 33 books. So yeah, but that's my mid-year book tag. I'm so excited to be doing this. I'm very excited that I'm making these videos, and I hope that I can keep up with it when grad school starts in September, because that's my biggest fear, that like I started this and I've been emotionally invested in it now. Like I'm enjoying making these videos, and I mean, I've got like 12 views, so like basically a YouTuber. And then grad school's gonna start, and it's gonna kick my booty, and I'm not gonna have any time to read, let alone film. But the point of filming is that I'll continue to read if I have something holding me accountable for it. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm excited to be doing this, and I'm excited to share my thoughts on all the books that I've read so far, and I'm really, really excited to see what the rest of this year brings reading wise. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that y'all have a great day. Why don't you leave me a comment and let me know if you also think it's cheating to read spin-offs. Also, not related at all, but I feel the same way about TV shows. Like, I watched The Vampire Diaries growing up, and then I've only ever watched like 1 season of the originals, and I could never finish it because I always felt like I was cheating on The Vampire Diaries. And same thing with Grey's Anatomy. I've watched Grey's Anatomy like probably like 8 times all the way through. But I haven't finished Private Practice to this day, and I didn't even start Station 19. Like, it's just not, it's cheating, okay? It's cheating. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks, y'all have a great day. See ya.